The message no human expected. Jason walked alone across the quiet military outpost. The sky above him was dark and endless, filled with stars. He had walked this path many times before. Same boots, same dust, same silence. He liked the silence. After years of war and noise, silence was peace. But tonight, something felt different. A strange feeling was crawling in his chest, like someone watching him. He stopped, looked around. Nothing. Then he saw a dot in the air right in front of him. Letters began to appear, glowing softly like blue fireflies. Match confirmed. Romantic duties begin now. Jason froze. He blinked twice. The message was still there. He reached for his communicator, thinking it was some joke. Control, this is Outpost 7. I have a floating message in the sky. Static replied. No voice. No answer. Then the light grew brighter. A soft hum filled the air, like music without sound. From the clouds above, a sleek silver ship slowly descended. It made no noise, no engine, no fire. Just smooth movement, like a dream falling from the stars. Jason stepped back. The ship landed on the sand like a feather. A soft hiss escaped as a ramp lowered to the ground. Blue lights lined the entrance. Jason raised his weapon, unsure. Then he saw her. She walked down the ramp with calm steps. Tall, elegant, skin like moonlight, eyes like crystal water. She wore something that looked like armor, but moved like silk. She smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was playful. Like she knew something he didn't. Jason Carter, she said. You've been matched. He stared at her. Matched for what? She walked closer. Romantic union. Your DNA passed the test. You are now my chosen mate. Jason lowered his weapon a little, confused. You're joking, right? She tilted her head. Do I look like I joke? Before he could speak again, a blue ring of light surrounded him. He felt weightless. His boots lifted off the ground. The desert disappeared in a blink. Then he was inside her ship. The walls were glowing, soft and warm. The floor was glass but firm. Everything looked alive. Not just built. As if the ship could feel him. Jason stumbled forward. Hey, you can't just abduct people. She appeared again, stepping from the side wall like it opened just for her. She folded her arms. Abduction is such an ugly word. I prefer ... collection. Jason stepped back. Let me out. She smiled again, this time a little more real. In time. First, you must understand what you are now. And what is that? He asked. She touched a glowing panel. A map of stars appeared in the air. You are part of an ancient pact. Your world made it long ago. One human will bond with one of my kind. Emotion, trust, union. Jason shook his head. We never agreed to this. Your leaders did. They just never told you. Her voice was calm, like a teacher talking to a student. Jason looked at the door behind her. Fine, I don't agree. So let me go. She tapped her wrist. The room shifted. The door vanished. The walls became a screen. They showed images, his childhood, his mother, his first mission, his pain, his loneliness. Jason stood frozen. How are you doing this? I know your memories now. The match is deep. I didn't choose you by chance. She stepped closer. You feel more alone than anyone I've met. That's why the bond pulled you in. Jason clenched his fists. That doesn't give you the right. No, she said softly. But it gives me the reason. Jason looked into her eyes. For a second, he didn't see a stranger. He saw something else, something lonely, something broken. Like him. What's your name? He asked. She raised an eyebrow. Now you ask? I figured if I'm being held hostage, I should at least know who's in charge. She laughed a soft, musical laugh. Velray, princess of the Kalari Dominion. last of my line. Jason nodded. Well, Valray, I don't care if you're a princess. I'm not. Here for some space marriage. She smiled again, but there was a flicker of something sad in her face. You will be. In time? Jason turned away, trying to think. Every part of this felt wrong, and yet, it didn't feel like a trap. It felt like a test. The room dimmed. A soft voice, not Valray's, echoed in the air. Bond initiation. Complete. Heart link in process. Jason spun. What did you do? Valray stepped back slowly. Nothing yet, but now. We're connected. The walls glowed with golden light, and Jason realized this was only the beginning. Terms of the bond. Jason woke up inside a room that felt alive. The walls pulsed gently, like they were breathing. There were no sharp edges, no doors, no windows. Just soft curves and a low hum in the air. The light shifted with his breath. He sat up on the strange bed. His boots were gone, his weapons too, but he wasn't tied. No chains, no guards. Still, he was trapped. Then she walked in again. Valray, the alien princess with a voice like calm water and eyes that never blinked. Unless she wanted to say something without speaking. She was holding something this time. A small device that floated between her hands. It looked like glass, but moved like water. Inside it, something glowed red, then gold. Jason stood. What is that? She answered without looking up. Proof. Proof of what? That we're bonded now. By law. By blood. By choice. He laughed once, sharp and bitter. Not my choice. Valray didn't flinch. She simply walked over and let the device float near his chest. It stopped mid-air, began to spin. A low sound, like two notes meeting, filled the room. The screen changed. His DNA, her DNA, two different spirals. Slowly wrapping around each other. Jason stared. You scanned me? Your blood. From when I touched your arm, it confirmed what the system predicted. Compatibility 99.9%. He shook his head. So what? I'm not some trophy you can just claim because a machine gave us a high score. She tilted her head, studying him like a puzzle piece that didn't fit where it should. You think I chose this? Jason's voice grew louder. Didn't you? Valray placed the device down. It vanished into the floor. My people are dying. Our bond with the stars has broken. The old alliances are gone. We made a pact with your kind long ago. If ever our bloodline began to fade, we would return to Earth. Your people agreed. One match, one bond, one chance to rebuild. Jason crossed his arms. You keep saying your people and my people. What about what I want? She stepped closer, slow, calm. You want to be seen. You want someone who doesn't need to be impressed. Someone who listens even when you don't speak. Jason felt his jaw tighten. You read my mind now? No, just your eyes. He looked away. Valray walked past him, touching a part of the wall. It opened into a hallway, silent, glowing, endless. Come with me. Jason followed, mostly because he didn't know where else to go. They walked through twisting halls of light. The ship felt more like a temple than a machine. Every wall responded to her touch. The air smelled like rain. She stopped in front of a door made of pure starlight. This is the Chamber of Vows. Jason raised an eyebrow. Sounds romantic. It is. The door opened. Inside, a small circular platform floated above a pool of glowing liquid. Shapes moved beneath the surface. Memories, feelings, dreams. Valray stepped onto the platform. Stand with me. Jason didn't move. What happens if I don't? The bond will remain, but incomplete, weak, fragile. A target. Jason frowned. Target for who? Valray looked down at the pool. There are those who hate the idea of Kalari mixing with humans. They would rather see both bloodlines end. Jason sighed. Why me? She looked at him again. Not like a princess, not like a soldier. Just a woman holding too much weight on her shoulders, because you're strong and kind and angry all at once. Jason stepped onto the platform. It began to rise slowly. The pool below glowed brighter. Ray took his hand not like a command, but like a choice. If you truly don't want this, she said, I will let you go. But if there's even a small part of you that wants to know where this path leads, take this step with me. Jason looked at their hands. Her skin was cool, but steady. Like stone that remembered water. He closed his eyes, and he didn't let go. The royal showdown. The ship drifted through space like a quiet shadow. Far from Earth, far from war, far from everything Jason understood. Inside it, two hearts were trying to understand each other. One human, one alien. Neither fully trusting. The bond. Jason stood by a wide window that showed a galaxy spinning slowly in the distance. It looked peaceful, but peace wasn't how he felt. Behind him, Ray sat at a floating table, moving her fingers through a map made of stars. Her eyes tracked energy routes, rebel signals, and dying systems. She looked like a queen again. Jason turned. You said people would try to stop this bond. But you didn't say how. Ray didn't look up. Because if I told you everything, you might run. I still might. She smiled without humor. Then let me show you instead. Before Jason could ask what she meant, the ship trembled. Not a gentle shake, a warning. Lights flickered. Sirens stayed silent, but a red glow began to pulse on the walls. Ray stood. They're here. Who? Jason stepped back as part of the wall shifted, turning into a screen. Several ships were approaching, black and red, sharp like knives. Moving fast. Kalari rebels, she said. They believe our royal blood should end. No mixing, no humans, no bond. And what do they want now? She looked at him. They want me dead, and you erased. Jason stared at the screen. The rebel ships surrounded them. His old instincts kicked in. Do we have weapons? Ray touched her wrist. The ship can defend itself? But not without me. What do you mean? I control it. With my mind, my bond. And now with yours too. Jason blinked. Wait, you mean we both control it? If the bond is strong. Enough. The ship shook harder. Jason clenched his fists. Then we better make it strong right now. She looked at him, surprised for a second. Then not a dot. They ran down the glowing hallway. The path opened for them. The air grew warmer. The hum of the ship turned into a heartbeat. They reached the command core. The room was round. No buttons, no chairs. Just energy. Ray stepped onto a central platform. Jason followed. Lights wrapped around their feet like vines of fire and light. Close your eyes, she said. Jason hesitated. Trust me. Just once. He closed his eyes. The room faded. Suddenly, they were somewhere else. A memory. A dream. A feeling. Jason saw a child version of himself. Alone in a shelter. Cold. Crying. Forgotten. He turned. Saw Ray as a young girl. Sitting in a dark throne room. Wearing a crown too big for her head. Surrounded by silence. They stood between their pasts. Then the lights pulled them back. Jason opened his eyes. Ray was crying, but just a little. One tear, silver. Now, she whispered. The ship responded. Energy blasted out from its sides. Like wings, one rebel ship fired. The blast curved away, deflected by a golden shield. Jason stared. We did that? Ray nodded. We did. Jason felt something rising in his chest. Not fear. Not anger. Purpose. He looked at the enemy ships. Let's give them a reason to fear this bond. Valerie raised her hand. Jason mirrored her. The ship moved like it had a soul. Light turned into spears. Shields flared gold. They moved through the rebel fleet like thunder wrapped in stars. One by one, the enemy ships fell back. Jason stood beside her, heart pounding. The last rebel ship turned and fled. Silence returned. Only their breathing filled the space. Valerie turned to him. "You saved me." Jason shook his head. "We saved each other." For the first time, her smile wasn't guarded. "You're not just a match," she said. "You're my equal." Jason didn't reply. He didn't need to. The bond between them was louder than words. The heart of the ship. Jason followed Valerie through a long hallway that curved like a river. The walls glowed with soft light, changing color with every step. Blue, then purple, then warm gold. The air smelled faintly like rain on stone. He had been on hundreds of ships in his life. Warships, cargo ships, dead ships floating in space, but nothing felt like this one. This one felt alive, as if the ship was breathing with them. Watching, listening, Valerie walked ahead in silence. She hadn't said a word since the battle. But something in her walk had changed. She wasn't just a princess anymore. She was something softer, something heavier. They reached a large circular room. The entrance vanished behind them. Jason looked around. The walls here were different, not smooth. They moved slowly, like waves under skin. In the center was a round platform surrounded by light. Floating in the air were small glowing orbs. Each one pulsed gently. "This is the core," Valerie said. Jason looked at her. "Of the ship?" "No," she replied. "Of me." She stepped onto the platform and held out her hand. Jason hesitated. "What happens if I touch one of those?" "They will show you what I feel." "What I hide." Jason raised an eyebrow. "Is that a trick?" "No. It is the most honest thing I can give you." He walked slowly onto the platform. The air felt thicker, warmer. One of the orbs floated near his face. Without warning, it burst into light. He saw a younger Valerie kneeling beside a bed. Her mother lay dying, her eyes empty. Her last words were not soft. They were orders. "You are the last. Do not fail." The vision faded. Another orb moved close. This time, Jason saw her standing before a council of elders. Their faces were sharp, cold. One of them said, "No human can ever be trusted. Your feelings are weakness." Jason turned away, breathing hard. The images had weight. As if he was carrying her pain now, Valerie spoke gently. "This room stores our deepest emotions. We Kalari do not cry. We do not scream. We store until we break." Jason looked at her. "Why show me this?" "Because if I am to trust you with my future, you must first carry my past." Jason walked toward her. His voice was quiet. "Then show me one more." A final orb rose between them, larger than the rest. It glowed brighter. The moment it opened, Jason felt something sharp in his chest. He saw himself, not a memory. A vision. He stood beside Valerie on a battlefield. Behind them, hundreds of alien and human soldiers stood united. In front of them, a shadow moved. Something dark. Something powerful. Valerie looked at him in the vision and said, "If we fall, they all fall." Then it ended. Jason stepped back. "What was that?" "A future," Valerie whispered. "One that is not certain, but possible." Jason swallowed. "And you believe it?" "I want to." They stood in silence. Then Valerie did something unexpected. She took his hand. No command. No ceremony. Just a quiet act of closeness. "This bond," she said, "was once about duty. But now, I don't know what it is anymore." Jason looked down at her hand in his. He didn't pull away. I don't either, he said, but maybe that's the point. For a long moment, the room glowed brighter. The ship responded to their touch. The orbs floated higher. The walls shimmered with soft gold. Velray looked up at him. Her voice was barely a whisper. Do you feel it? Jason nodded. Yeah, I do. In that moment, there was no throne, no duty, no bloodlines. Just two beings trying to understand each other, and maybe, just maybe, finding something worth protecting. The rebels and the truth. Jason stood at the edge of the viewing deck, watching stars drift by like sparks from a dying fire. His hand still remembered the warmth of Velray's touch, but his mind was heavy. The bond between them was growing. Stronger, realer, stranger. But what was it built on? Truth? Or something else? Behind him, the ship's door opened without a sound. Velray entered, carrying a small metal case. She placed it on the table and opened it. Inside were objects from Earth, a photo of Jason as a boy, his mother's necklace, a dog tag with his name scratched out by war. All things he'd forgotten. All things the ship had somehow pulled from his mind. He turned sharply. Why do you have these? Velray didn't flinch. To remind you who you are, and to show you I haven't forgotten either. Jason stepped forward. Or to keep me here. She looked up at him. If I wanted to trap you, I wouldn't show you the way out. Before he could answer, a siren rang softly. Not loud. Not dangerous, but different. A signal. A visitor. Ve. Laraya's face changed. Calm turned to caution. She tapped her wrist. A hologram appeared. One ship, small, fast, marked with black flames. Across the hull. She whispered, that ship should not be here. Jason watched the screen. Who is it? She didn't answer. Instead, she walked toward the dock bay. Jason followed. When the doors opened, the air shifted. A tall figure stepped out of the shadow of the ship. His armor looked like glass dipped in fire. His face was half covered by a mask, but his voice was clear. Little sister, he said. Still playing with your pet? Jason felt something cold slide into his chest. Velray stood still. Kalen. Jason looked between them. Your brother? Kalen stepped forward slowly. You brought a human here, into the core, into our bond rooms. You let him inside your mind. Velray kept her voice calm. He saved my life. Kellen's laugh was sharp. That's what they do, play the hero, until they betray you. Jason spoke up. I didn't ask to be part of this. Kellen's eyes locked on his. No, but you're in it now, so you deserve to know. He tossed something to the ground. A broken device. Old. Earth-made. This was recovered from one of the earlier match attempts. The first human we bonded. He died screaming. Jason felt his stomach twist. Kelen pointed a finger at Velray. She didn't tell you the truth. You're not the first. You're the fourth. Jason looked at Velray. Her eyes lowered. He stepped back. Is that true? Velray's voice was quiet. Yes. Jason's jaw clenched. So I'm just an experiment? No, she said quickly. They were chosen wrong, too weak, too afraid. But you didn't even ask me, Jason cut in. Kalen stepped between them. It's not just about choice. It's about power. This bond, if it works, it can awaken things inside us that were buried long ago. It can bring war or peace. And she's willing to gamble everything on one human. Jason turned to leave. Velray called after him. I didn't lie about how I feel. I only hid the past because I didn't want it to poison what we were becoming. Jason stopped, his back still turned. Then you should have trusted me sooner. He walked out. Hours passed. Jason sat alone in his quarters. The walls dimmed. With his mood, the ship responded to him now. But that didn't bring comfort. He stared at the old photo of himself and his mother. He was smiling in it. Back then, love was simple, clear. Now it felt like a battlefield. The door opened. Velray stood there, but not as a princess. No crown, no royal clothes. Just herself. I never wanted to use you, she said. Jason looked at her. But you did. I didn't know how else to save my people. Jason's voice was quiet. You don't have to lie to me. I just want to know what's real. She sat down across from him. This bond. It started as duty, but it changed me. I feel more alive with you than I ever did with my kind. You don't worship me. You argue. You ask questions. You make me feel like I matter. Jason didn't speak. She reached into her pocket and placed something in his hand. A small stone. Warm. Glowing. What's this? He asked. A choice, she said. If you throw it into the ship's core, the bond breaks. You'll go home. No pain, no memory. Jason stared at the stone. Velray stood to leave. I won't stop you, she said. The door closed behind her. Jason sat in silence. The stone pulsed in his hand. His mind screamed for escape, but his heart it whispered her name. Asterisk. Between life and bond, Jason lay still on the bed. The glowing stone was in his hand. Its warmth had faded. Now it was cold, heavy, like guilt. He hadn't thrown it into the core. Not yet. But he hadn't let it go either. His mind felt full, loud. His chest was tight, not from fear, from confusion, from something pulling inside him. Something not fully human anymore. Then the lights began to flicker. His fingers twitched. His breath slowed. The ship whispered something he couldn't understand, and then everything went black. When Jason opened his eyes, he wasn't in his room. He was standing in a place made of memory. The ground was water, but it didn't splash. It just shimmered. Above him was a sky full of faces. His mother, his team, the men he lost in the war. All watching, not speaking. Just watching. He turned around and saw himself. A younger version, scared, alone, kneeling. In the dark with blood on his hands. Jason stepped back. What is this? A voice answered, soft and echoing. Your heart. Your past. Your doubt. Velray appeared in front of him. Not the real one, a memory. A shadow. She reached out, but her hand passed through him like smoke. You're not her, Jason whispered. No, but you brought me here. Because you need her. He tried to run. The ground didn't move. His feet were locked in memory. Suddenly, everything turned dark, and a new voice spoke. You're weak. Jason turned again. Kalen stood there, but larger. His face was fire. His words were knives. You let a woman from another world play with your heart. You think she won't break you when it suits her? Jason shouted. She's not like you. Kalen laughed. She's worse, because she made you believe. The sky cracked. The faces vanished. Jason fell. He hit the ground hard. This time, it was real. Stone, cold, silent. He lay there, gasping. Then footsteps, real ones. Velray stood above him, not a vision. Not a dream. She knelt beside him. I came into the bond core, she said. I linked my mind with yours. The ship warned me not to. It's dangerous. But I didn't care. Jason tried to speak. Nothing came out. I saw your pain, she said. I felt your fear, your shame, your loneliness. And I still chose to stay. She touched his forehead. The world lit up again. But this time, it wasn't memory. It was light. Pure, bright, alive. She guided him through it. Step by step. His fears broke like glass. His anger burned away like paper. They stood in the center of the light, holding hands. No crown. No past. No lies. Just two souls. Breathing. Feeling. Alive. Jason opened his eyes. He was back in the ship. Valray was beside him, holding his hand like she hadn't moved for hours. He tried to speak. She smiled. Don't, just feel it. He looked around. The ship was quiet again, peaceful. What happened? You almost broke, she said softly. But you didn't, because the bond held. You held. Jason sat up slowly. His body was tired. His heart was not. I saw everything, he said. I felt everything, even the part of me I tried to forget. Valray nodded. And I felt you, all of you, and I didn't run. Jason looked down at their hands. Then maybe this bond isn't a trap. It never was, she whispered. For the first time, Jason leaned forward, not to ask a question, not to argue, just to rest his forehead against hers, and the ship glowed gold. The eternal match, the ship no longer felt like a vessel. It felt like a home. Jason stood in the command chamber, hands resting on the curved railing, watching the stars move. His heart was calm. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt right. Valray entered behind him. Her steps were quiet, but the ship still reacted to her presence. The walls warmed. The light softened. Jason turned and met her eyes. She wasn't just a princess anymore. She was his partner. Is it time? He asked. She nodded. The council has summoned us. They want to see the bond for themselves. Jason raised an eyebrow. To test it? No, she said. To fear it, or to follow it. We'll find out soon. They stepped into the core transport chamber. The ship moved faster than thought. One blink and they were above the ancient Kalari city. It floated in the sky, built on spirals of stone and light. Towers reached toward the stars like open hands. Jason had seen hundreds of alien cities. None like this. As they stepped onto the palace steps, crowds watched from a distance. Human and Kalari soldiers stood side by side. Whispers filled the air. A bond between species was forbidden, sacred, dangerous. But now, it was real. They entered the throne chamber. The council sat like statues carved from crystal and steel. Cold eyes, sharp voices. The oldest among them stood. Valray, you risked everything for a human, she spoke without fear. I risked nothing. I gained everything. They turned to Jason. And you? What do you believe this bond is? Jason stepped forward. I don't believe it, he said. I lived it. He raised his arm. A beam of light formed between him and Valray. A pulse. A heartbeat. It glowed with every breath they took together. The council murmured, some angry, some stunned. Then the chamber shook. Hard. Dust fell from the high ceilings. Lights flickered. Outside, sirens screamed. A messenger ran in. Rebel fleet incoming. 15 ships, all armed. Jason and Valray exchanged a look. No fear, just clarity. We fight, she said. The council objected. We haven't voted. You don't need to, Valray answered. I'm not asking anymore. They left the chamber. The crowd outside had already scattered. Ships hovered above, dark as THUNDERCLOUDs. Jason and Valray returned to their vessel. The bond responded the moment they stepped in. Lights turned. Blue, systems lit up. The ship came alive like a dragon waking from deep sleep. Jason took his place beside her. They joined hands. The ship surged forward. Outside, the rebel fleet fired first. The sky burned with light. Valray closed her eyes. Jason focused. The bond pulsed again. This time, the ship did more than shield. It sang. Waves of golden sound pushed back enemy fire. Their ship weaved through missiles like a leaf in the wind. Jason spoke softly. Do you feel it? Valray smiled. I always did. Together, they launched the counterattack. Their ship didn't destroy. It disarmed. It exposed weak points. It made the enemy see something they had forgotten. Hope. The rebel leadership fell back. A signal flashed on the screen. Surrender. Jason stared at it. Is that real? Valerie nodded. They felt it too. The battle ended not in flames, but in light. Later, under the quiet stars, Valerie and Jason stood on a balcony of the palace. People cheered far below, not just Kalari. Humans too, the first united crowd in centuries. Jason turned to her. So, what now? She held out a small ring, not gold, not metal, made from the ship's heart itself. A bond ring. Now, she sighed. You choose. Jason looked at the ring. He didn't speak. He slipped it onto his finger. Valerie smiled. That's a yes? He pulled her close. That's a forever. The stars watched as a human and an alien stood hand in hand, not just bonded by fate, but by choice. And from that choice, a new future began.